Good morning, everyone. My name is Hugo De Fienne. I am a lecturer at the University of Glasgow, and today I'm going to talk about our work entitled Polarization Entanglement-Enabled Quantum Holography. To start this presentation, I would like to give a brief introduction about holography. Holography is an optical technique in which an intensity pattern is produced by diffracting coherent light onto a complex object. The information of this intensity pattern that we call an hologram is then used in order to obtain some information about the three-dimensional structure of the object. In practice, holographic imaging is often implemented using an holographic interferometry setup in which the diffracted light is superimposed onto a reference beam in order to produce the hologram at the output by interference. Holographic imaging is used in many fields of physics and imaging, and it's particularly useful in biological imaging, where it can be used to retrieve a three-dimensional structure of very small and transparent objects, such as neurons or cells. But one ingredient that is really essential in any holographic imaging approach is the fact that the light that is used must be coherent. Indeed, to achieve holography, we need to be able to produce stationary interference pattern. And to produce stationary interference pattern, we must use a type of light, a coherent type of light. In our work, I will show you that we can actually achieve holography without coherence, but using entanglement instead. In short, to do that, we're going to essentially replace the classical source of light that I was showing you in this setup by a source of entangled photon pairs. So to be a bit more specific about this part, let me describe the source of photon pair that we're going to use in our work. In our work, we're going to use a source of hyper-entangled photon pair, which means that the photons are entangled both in space and polarization. To produce these photon pairs, we simply illuminate two nonlinear crystals, so a pair of nonlinear crystals, by a blue pump laser polarized at 45 degrees. And the photons are produced by spontaneous parametric tone conversion where one blue photon becomes two red photons. These two red photons are produced at the outputs, and they are entangled both in space and polarization, which in practice means that we can measure correlation between both their spatial degrees of freedom, but also between their polarization degrees of freedom. To be a bit more formal, the state that we observe at the output has this form. In our holographic imaging setup, we're going to divide the system into two parts. On the left side of the beam, I'm going to have, which we're going to call the object arm, we're going to have a camera that we call the camera object. And on the right side of the beam, we're going to have another camera that we call the camera reference. If we use this camera as conventional camera and take intensity image at the output by accumulating photon, we observe that the intensity at the output is homogeneous on both sides. It's a half disk, but inside it's homogeneous. So in this case, we observe that measuring the intensity at the output do not give us any information about the collective behavior of photon pairs. And in fact, we could replace the source of photon pairs by any classical source that is incoherent, and we could observe exactly the same intensity at the output. In fact, the light that we are producing is also completely unpolarized, because when we put polarizers between the camera and the crystal and rotate the polarizer, we do not observe any change in the intensity at the output. So in fact, by measuring only intensity at the output, we are not doing something better than just building a simple imaging system with an incoherent and unpolarized source of light. To really exploit the fact that we are using photon pairs, and in particular exploit their entanglement properties, we need to perform coincidence measurement between the pixel of the sensor at the output. And to do that, we use a very specific type of camera, a single photon sensitive camera, that in this case is an EMCCD camera. An EMCCD camera enables to measure a four-dimensional coincidence matrix, so measure coincidence between all the pairs of pixels of the sensor and measure the joint probability distribution of photon pairs at the output. To visualize this four-dimensional matrix, we could, for example, project some conditional images. For example, let's consider a pixel A onto the camera object and measure the probability of detecting the second photon on the other camera when the first photon was measured at position A. We observe on this what we call a conditional image, that the probability of detecting the second photon is maximum exactly at the symmetric position relative to the pixel where the first photon was detected on the object camera. We can also take another point, for example, and we observe the same phenomenon, that the second photon is always measured at a symmetric position relative to the position where the first photon was detected on the first camera. This anti-correlation behavior of photon pairs at the output is a signature of the momentum conservation happening during the SPDC process. In our work, we won't actually use all these conditional images one by one, but we are only going to form an image that we're going to call the coincidence image by mapping only the values of the coincidence between symmetric pairs of pixels of the two sensors. This image that, again, for clarity, we're going to call the coincidence image, is essentially an image that is formed from the coincidence measured between all symmetric pairs of pixels of the sensors. When there is no object in the setup, this coincidence image has exactly the same shape as the intensity on the reference arm. But now let's introduce a phase object in our system, and in this case, it's a birefringent phase object. When we introduce this object, we observe no change in the intensity. Of course, light is completely unpolarized and incoherent, so we do not expect any change in the intensity. However, we do observe that the coincidence image is now modulated by the shape of the object that we just introduced on actually the other arm. So this, formally, what is happening is actually a phase term is introduced by the birefringent phase object on one of the two terms that is forming the quantum state at the output, enabling this two terms to interfere when we perform the measurement with the camera, and then to have an image that is proportional to the phase, which is essentially an hologram of the phase object. So we are able here to measure an hologram of the object by performing coincidence measurements with our camera. But to achieve holography, we need more than one hologram. And to do that, to get more hologram and retrieve entirely the phase, we're gonna insert a spatial light modulator onto the other beam, onto the other side of the setup. This spatial light modulator will be used to introduce a constant phase shift in the setup, a constant phase shift that formally will be introduced on the second part, on the second term of the quantum state at the output, which will enable to essentially measure multiple holograms all shifted one relative to each other at the output. And with different holograms, it's possible to combine them to reconstruct the complete phase without ambiguity of the object, of the birefringent phase object that is positioned in our system. So this here describes exactly the protocol that we use to achieve holography with our system. What is important to note here is that entanglement is essential in this system to operate, because without entanglement, it's possible to demonstrate that if we remove entanglement by generating a source of photon pairs that is correlated in space and in polarization, but not entangled anymore in polarization, we still do not observe anything in intensity, but we lose any information in the coincidence image and we cannot retrieve the phase at the output. So entanglement, polarization entanglement in our system is essential for our system to work. Here we have demonstrated that it's possible, thanks to entanglement, thanks to polarization entanglement between the photon pair, to achieve holographic imaging, even if the light is completely incoherent at the first order and completely unpolarized. We have demonstrated our technique using, of course, artificially birefringent objects, using an SLM to program them, but also using biological samples, such as a bird feather that is a bit birefringent on certain part of it. And we also demonstrated with another object that's a Scotch tape that is birefringent. And also recently, we extended our approach into non-birefringent object by modifying the setup. So the question you would like to ask before the end of this talk is probably the fact, okay, yes, we demonstrated that we can do holography without using classical coherence. So without classical coherence, by using entanglement instead. And the question you would like to ask is what this could be useful for. Why do we want to do that? Why we want to do that? So just to finish this presentation, I would like to mention the different advantages that we have identified by using this quantum holography approach in comparison with classical holography. Our quantum holography technique has some advantages. The first advantage is the fact that quantum holography is robust against dynamic phase disorder. So if you have two random phase disorder on each of the two arms here that are rotating, completely random, you can still perform holography, and this robustness is connected to the notion of decoherence-free subspace that is known in quantum information processing. Another advantage of our approach is robustness against the presence of stray light. So if you have stray light falling on your sensor that is dynamic, you can still perform holography and retrieve the phase at the output. This notion is linked, this robustness is linked to the notion of quantum illumination. And finally, we also have a better resolution compared to classical coherent holographic system. That is an effect that has been demonstrated in the past with raster scanning approach that we essentially extended here in full field in a holographic technique. What I would like to remember from this presentation is the fact that we have achieved holographic imaging using entanglement instead of classical coherence. Its application range is for birefringent object, but we also recently extended it to non-birefringent objects. It has some advantages, including the robustness against phase disorder, against noise and stray light, and also a better resolution compared to classical holography system. This robustness and advantages are linked to three specific notions in the quantum information processing field. In terms of perspective, of course, we want to go faster. So far, all the images that I've shown you have been taken using hours of acquisition, tens of hours of acquisition. By using faster camera, we can probably reduce this time to smaller, to minutes, for example. And we also, another perspective that is interesting is this notion of quantum illumination that could be used to implement both classical and quantum holography simultaneously. And finally, with that, I would like to thank all the people who have been involved in this work, including Daniele Faccio, Ashley Lyons, Bienvenue Nagano, and I would like to thank you, all of you, for your attention.